Go ahead.
All right, I'll read the public notice then. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor of the state of New York, Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday, October 13th, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar instead of an in-person public hearing. It will be streamed over the
Tell me
internet.
when you want me to turn it.
Instructions on how to access that are on the town website.
Sorry, let me.
Dated 10/6/2020. John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the con is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Hope all is well tonight. First application, 576-20, West Walk LLC. Permission to erect one-story addition, 25 feet by 29.9 feet, leaving floor area ratio of 32% instead of the permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, east side of Schooner Walk, 360 feet south of Central Walk, Summer Club, New York. Anyone here in an application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appearing on behalf of the applicant, Eugene Aldina-Cola.
Oh, we're not going to have Deirdre's screenshot either, are we?
No, it's up. Will
I see
Garbarino.
it. I can see it.
Oh, I can't see it.
I got it.
Chairman.
How do we do that, huh?
Can you go up to view options in the top, John?
Where's view options? I don't see what that is.
Just hover on the top of the screen.
Mine came up automatically.
His looks like it's frozen at the moment.
Me? I'm frozen?
Yeah, the
All
camera.
right, he's just showing the survey, Mr. Chairman. You have that right in front of
Yep.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't do anything. So if you guys can hear me, let me know. If not, I can.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Is anyone here in that application?
Mr. Garbarino is. Mr. Garbarino, excuse me, Mr.
Nicola.
Nicola. I'm looking at Mr. Garbarino, so excuse me.
Chairman,
That's some
appearing
guy.
on behalf of the applicant, Eugene Aldina-Cola, 200 Railroad Avenue, Salem, New York.
I can't even see him or hear him. So if you want to take over, Vinny, please do.
Okay, you got it.
I got to figure this out.
If I may proceed.
Please, Mr. DiNicola, go right ahead.
The applicant is requesting permission to erect a one-story addition to an existing dwelling, leaving a floor area ratio of 32% instead of the permitted 30%. The subject parcel is located at Summer Club, Fire Island. The applicant has an existing two-story dwelling on tax lot 8.23, known as 32 Schooner Walk, Summer Club, which is 60 by 100. That is the tax lot containing 6,000 square feet. By deed dated October 8, 2019, the applicant acquired the title to the north half of lot 8.22 after obtaining a subdivision which was approved from the town of Islip, now making the applicant's parcel 90 feet by 100 feet, 9,000 square feet. As we know, the BAA zoning district requires 60 by 100, 6,000 square feet. The applicant is expanding the dwelling to add an addition 29.9 feet by 25 feet to the existing dwelling. The proposed addition will meet all dimensional setbacks and only requires a 2% floor area ratio relaxation as requested. The board recently granted a floor area ratio variance for premises located at 26 Schooner Walk, Summer Club, of 41.87% instead of the permitted 30%, case number 574-20, rendered October 7, 2020. The property is approximately 180 feet north of the subject parcel. Also, case number 177-17, which property is located at 41 Schooner Walk, Summer Club. The board approved an FAR variance of 39.43% instead of the permitted 30%. This property is approximately 150 feet south of the subject parcel. Other floor area ratio variances have been granted that requested a greater degree of relaxation than the applicant is requesting this evening. The requested relief this evening represents an approximate 6.6% relaxation of the ordinance requirement, which is well within the percentage relief which has been previously granted by this board. If this variance request is approved, there will be no undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood. There will be no adverse impact or detriment to nearby properties. The requested variance is not substantial. There will be no adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood, and the benefit requested by the applicant can only be achieved and obtained by this area variance. Based on the testimony that I have submitted and the previous approvals made by this board, I respectfully request that this application be approved, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Nicole. Can you guys hear me now? I'm back in.
Yep.
Yeah. We got you.
And hear you, Mr.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank
Have a
you,
good night,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, members of the board. Have a good evening and stay safe.
You too.
You
You
too, thank
too.
you.
Application number 577-20, Jose D. Fernandez and Estela Diaz. Permission to leave second story addition 10 by 12, having rear yard of 17.5 feet instead of required 25 feet. Shed having 19 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet. Patio having rear yard of 0.1 feet instead of required 4 feet. And rear yard occupancy of 48.6% instead of permitted 30%. Driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and primary front yard occupancy 56.7% proportionate instead of permitted 35%. Residence A District, northeast corner of Prospect Street and Woodland Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Anyone here in this application?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella with Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Good evening, Roxanne. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. How is everyone?
Oh, good, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the second story addition.
Mhm.
It's for a 4-season sunroom. It's 10 by 12, and it is on like the northeast corner of the dwelling. The second story deck right behind it actually received a grant from the board in 2002, case number 1193-02, and it granted a rear yard of 8 feet instead of the required 25 feet. And they did note that the property only has a rear yard of 8 feet. It's on the corner, but the house faces the wrong way into the corner, which creates such a deficient rear yard.
Okay.
Then we have the shed, which is 19 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of 20. And I think what happened here is they were trying to maintain their rear yard and side yard setbacks. And in doing so and complying with that ordinance, they fell behind on the 19 feet instead of the 20.
Mhm.
The patio having a rear yard of 0.1 instead of 4 is that concrete right behind the dwelling there. And then we have the driveway is also, if that's what continues on from the side, the second front on Woodland Avenue. So the driveway comes closer to the edge of the property line and continues to the back. So that continuous concrete run right there is both the driveway on the property line and the patio having the rear yard of 0.1. And then I think the two bigger items, which is, I did speak to zoning about it, and I got kind of an idea of where these numbers were coming from. So on here, it says a primary front yard occupancy of 56.7 and a rear yard occupancy of 48.6 proportionate. So when I spoke to zoning, what they said is that they specifically take one line across the whole front line, and you're allowed 35% of that. But you're kind of penalized when you're on a corner, because if you go over that number, you automatically become deficient in your second front yard. So even if you had just like 1 foot of a driveway on your second front, it's going to push you over, and those numbers are almost doubled. So basically you're counted just on your front yard, and they don't take into account anything on the second front. They don't do it separately. And that's what he means by proportionate. So when you look at the numbers, they look very high for what the board is used to granting, but because of the way that this parcel is, it's really not as bad as it sounds.
So if it were not proportionate, as zoning, you stated zoning says, what would it be in normal everyday world if this wasn't the second front yard, do you know?
It would probably be under the 40% that we normally grant. And then he also said that on this property specifically, the reasons that the numbers are so high is because you only have 17 feet in the front yard from your property line to the dwelling, where we're used to seeing anywhere from 25 to 40 feet.
Gotcha. Mary, does planning have anything to say regarding this in there? Or no? You're muted, Mary.
Planning's notes were probably in haste because it was the typical no precedent, recommend 40%. So I read that to Roxanne earlier today when she attempted to reach out to Deirdre today. And that's why Roxanne followed up with zoning to get an explanation of what is meant by proportionate. I'm getting a message from Will. Will, are you having trouble rolling up to the prior aerial, or did Deirdre just not give us the correct aerial?
I do have an aerial if you want me to try and share my screen. I don't really know how to do it.
I thought I saw it on Deirdre's PDF earlier today.
It's on there, but the way I guess it's formatted is showing the survey for the current property and the aerial directly underneath it for the prior application. So if you want to see the aerial, I can scroll down, but
I think that's what she normally does. She scrolls down.
yeah, then it moves on to the following survey.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
weird the way they're tiled like that.
Yeah,
Can you click on the aerial and remove the tiling?
I tried.
Okay, well, the subject parcel is on the aerial with that red roof, right? Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
That was it with the red roof.
right there.
I honestly think we need to sit as a board possibly and discuss this, because this could be something that could give us heartache in the future with, if it's not properly done for the,
Oh, it definitely will. Somebody's going to look, you get granted 56.7. I only want 52.
I'm also a little concerned about that patio because it seems to be right next to the side of the adjoining house.
yeah.
So I don't know if you want to address that, Ms. Trella, or,
I'm sorry.
so the patio appears to be directly adjacent to the side of the house on the adjoining property.
The rear patio.
Uh-huh. Is there anything you'd like to say about that?
I'm trying to find a picture to see what's there. There's really nothing there on that patio. It's just a walkway into the yard. It's very narrow.
Oh, it's 9 feet.
As of right now, they're not used, that's not a place where they intend to congregate. It's just a passageway into their yard. They really use the other side. If you're looking at the aerial, the other side of the house is really what they use.
But you can't say that they won't, or a future owner won't in the future decide to put a barbecue there or whatever.
Okay.
There's no way to say that with certainty.
So that patio, it's 0.1 instead of the 4 feet. Would you like them to cut it back so that there's more than 0.1 there?
Well, if they cut it back to 5 feet, that would get them the 4 feet of distance, still be an adequate walkway, and eliminate the need for the variance.
I can have them cut back the rear yard.
Okay.
So the second story addition seems to be de minimis, right? With the way that the property set up and the second story deck that we've given that. You guys okay with that as a board?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. The shed 19 feet instead of 20. I think that's de minimis also. You guys are right with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the only issue is the 56.7%, really.
Yeah, the 56.7%. I don't know, Roxanne, you stated that it probably will be under 40%, but we don't know that for a fact. Is there a way that they could be figured out possibly and brought to us with?
I can have it refigured out if we could do, I'm not sure if you want me to send it in or if you want to do a short adjournment, how you want to go about it. But I can have it done for you by tomorrow.
What do you recommend, board? Would you rather an adjournment or reserve? Or?
Well, I don't know what we'd get a recalculation of the 56.7.
Yeah, apparently it's the way that the side yard and the front yard are taken into consideration. That zoning states that, if it goes one into the side yard, they almost double count it. If I'm gathering Roxanne correctly, what she stated.
Yes, there's this new wording that zoning is using when he puts proportionate into his denials. And basically what he's saying is they're only counting the front, and anybody on a corner lot is basically being penalized because it's being counted almost twice the way.
Yeah, but it doesn't give us the true number, I feel like.
Well, why don't we take a short adjournment, and if you can get the numbers that it would be possibly if it weren't the situation that it's in, if they can explain it better and we can get a more hardcore number, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. You guys okay with that as a board?
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? I make a motion to adjourn the application.
Second.
Hey, what's the first adjournment date we can give Roxanne?
We're probably safest with November 10.
Okay, is that good for you, Roxanne?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. All right, application adjourned to November 10th. Application 578-20, Nelda Escobar, permission to leave awning having rear yard of 8 feet instead of required 25 feet and side yard of 13 feet instead of required 14 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 31.5% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, south side of Candlewood Road, 55 feet west of Marshall Lane, Bay Shore, New York.
Good evening again. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you tonight?
Great. I have another fun lot here. This one is in the shape of a triangle. And we're here for the rear roof over and the FAR. I was able to pull up a floor area ratio precedent where they granted 31% and the case number was 051-04. As far as the roof over, one side it doesn't even go out as far as the dwelling on either side. One side is 13 instead of the 14, and then we have the other here. On the property side over here, it's all woods right now. There's no existing dwellings there.
When you talk about a prior of 31%, what are there thereafter going descending? Or is that a one-off?
I really just was able to.
That's the only one, yes?
I don't know because Deirdre wasn't in, so I didn't get to speak to her. I do know that she noted in her notes this one because it had a one-story addition. So if they were giving an FAR for a one-story addition, it's said to be that a roof over would be a little bit less. And I did speak to the clients about putting a condition of never to be enclosed, and they were okay with that.
Well, I would like to know is this a one-off and it's only 31? Because the way the board views this, if we grant 31.5, we never look at it as, well, it's not the nature and character. Oh, we granted 31.5, then we have to grant it to everybody else. And we took an otherwise conforming neighborhood and just increase it to 31.5. I don't think that's wise.
In this decision, it specifically states that the board has granted 31% as the highest floor area ratio in this neighborhood. It was actually a little bit over at 32.2, and they specifically wrote 31 and 32.2 because there was a shed that made it a little bit higher. So the decision does note that this is what they've done in the past with this area at 31%.
And
But we don't know.
I agree, Mr. Wexler, also, but the nature of this shape of this lot, I think if this was a normal everyday lot, I think that when we have this conversation with a paver patio with a roof over it.
Yeah, and at this point, I think maybe it's worth noting what the impacted property is. Will, is there any chance now you can scroll up to the next aerial so we can see the adjacent parcel? There it is. So the vacant lot to the west was recently granted a change of zone by the town board. That's at the corner of Brentwood Road and Comac Road. It was granted a change of zone from residential to GST for the construction of an office building, I think. I was the Zoom moderator at that town board change of zone hearing. So that would be the parcel most impacted by the approval to leave this open patio in the
And
back.
what was the change of zone for? General service T?
I believe it was T, not D, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it's good zoning wise. If there's a precedent of 31, we don't know how many to grant 31.5. I just brings it up to that much higher without, we don't know what the nature and character of the neighborhood is. Nobody does at this juncture.
We kind of do. We have a lot next to it that's going to be impacted of GST. So that's not, it's not like it's 2 or 3 homes next to it that are going to be impacted. It's going to be a transition district. So
I don't understand though, when 6 months from now, someone comes up with something similar and says you granted 31.5 on 578-20, what are we going to say?
Well, it's incumbent on us to know what 578-20
But we
is.
never do. It gets put out there and we go, oh, okay, you know that. We don't have these in front of us going back. We don't have a library of these when they come before us. Come on, we never do.
We
I
have
agree
the
with you.
ability to look at every one of those decisions.
But we don't. Why
Well,
pretend
we
that we
should.
Someone
I mean,
says,
that's our shortcoming then. Not,
well, then, but that's the 10 years on this board. That's how we've done it. I mean, that's the reality. Someone
not?
comes up
That
and
doesn't
says
mean we
that
can't
there's
improve.
a precedent of 31.5, and we go, okay, we'll give you 31.5. You know that.
well, I also know that there are unique circumstances, and I also know that we can improve what we do. I mean,
But we don't know.
We're all capable of improvement. Well, but we should, and we can if we choose to. That's on
But
us.
we don't. We have not chose to. That's the reality.
So maybe going forward, Deirdre, when she finds a precedent that is out of the ordinary, let's say, she should provide a copy or bring a copy of it with her.
But
we-
what-
Yeah,
but
but I don't think,
precedent
honestly, I don't
doesn't-
think she has the time or the ability to go through, research every precedent and find out what was. We get the number and we move on. That's the way we've done it. And to
But
pretend
precedent's
otherwise.
only one of the 5 factors in that decision anyway. So we have to look at other factors too. And I understand what you're saying now, respecting Mr. Buxton, but in an area right now here where this is going to be a general service T office building, as Mary stated, the lot is peculiar shaped. It's a triangle. I think we have enough here to look at other parts that they can say we can write this for 31.5. And we have,
All right, but we've just basically upped. I've had this discussion over and over and over again. We've had this discussion over and over again. That 31.5. Okay, we'll leave it 31, but we do that at the flip of a hand. You know that. We never go back and say, okay.
I think what Mr. Wexler is getting at is if this precedent is so far out of the ordinary, it'll just be presented to us and we'll think that's, oh, well, there's precedent without knowing that there's specific circumstances. Yes, it's next to GST, a GST office building. I understand that, but that at some application in the future, when let's say it's on a property that's not immediately adjacent to GST, the fact that this one was GST will not be necessarily brought to our attention, or we won't know it.
And
Thank you. And I will bet
agree with
any
you.
amount of money that the next time this comes up, whether it's 6 months or 9 months, we're not going to say, oh, by the way, was that next to a GST? Well, what's
Mr.
the odds of that?
Mr.
Come
Wexler,
on.
I agree with you.
Mr.
but
Wexler, we don't bet money here. We bet cookies.
Betting
Whatever.
money would be
All
not
right,
great.
I think we've exhausted the subject. I would like to at least reserve so we know what the nature and character of the neighborhood looks like. And we're not
I'd
just
always respect that request personally. But I think the chairman's right. There's 5 factors here. So we could have that discussion at another time when we vote on a decision.
So we're looking to reserve it?
Yes, please.
Well, why don't we? So we look and see what the nature, maybe I'm wrong, happen more often than not, but why don't we satisfy and satiate ourselves with knowledge? Does that sound good?
Mr. Chairman, and in this scenario, only because our house is on the market and looking to close within the next 2 weeks, and a reserve decision, I know that you could take up to 62 days. If we're looking for more precedent, maybe I could speak to Deirdre and I would take a very short adjournment or something else. I just know that they're looking to close and they don't want to hold any escrows or have anything holding this up.
Well, I mean, we can reserve the record's complete then. I mean, if you'll consent to any additional information coming to us from planning, so be it. That's your right to do that. And that would expedite a decision, I think, from us, perhaps, Mr. Chairman.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep.
But Roxanne, although we're reserving it, we'll do everything in our power to get this done sooner than later.
Our chairman's going in tonight to research precedent.
I think he's already got it at his fingertips.
I have it. All right. So does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Trella, as you know, we will do the best we can to get this to you sooner than later.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good night. You too.
Application 579-20, Travers and Meredith Breen. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving side yard of 9 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence B District, west side of Greeley Avenue, 215.77 feet south of Brook Street, Salem, New York. Is anyone here on this application?
They're here. Here we go.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Yes. Can't see you yet.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. Name and address for the record, please.
Travers Breen, 72 Greeley Avenue.
And Meredith.
So you're here seeking permission to install an in-ground pool. Side yard's a little bit short. Rear yard complies.
Yes, and the 6 feet off the garage complies too. That's why I didn't push it closer to the garage.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'm assuming there's got to be some precedent for 9 instead of 10 somewhere, right, Mayor? Any objection from Deirdre?
Sorry, I didn't read her notes on this one. It's just 9 instead of 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read her notes. Let me try to find them.
That's okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions?
Hold on. Let me see. You want to hear them? Let's see. Just found them. Deirdre says, no precedent, but no objection.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted. Have a
Thanks
good
a lot.
night, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Application 580-20, Freddie Chavez and Aurelie Rubio, permission to leave in-ground pool having side yard of 16 feet instead of required 18 feet. Residence AA District, north side of Seacliff Street, 400 feet east of Belmore Avenue, Islip Terrace, New York. Anyone here in this application?
Yes, I'm Mr. Chavez. For 240. I don't know if you can hear me.
I got you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chavez. How are you?
Good.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah. What do you call it? Yes. What I have it accompanied, Senosa's pool. We have these people to do the pool there, and I realized that is one of the inspectors. They came and they were supposed to be 18 instead of being 16 feet. That I didn't know that about that. You just hired a company to do, everything what they're supposed to do it and to make the pool in the house. I just realized when I get the paperwork and when I get the person for the town to let them know about that what's going on, and here we are.
Okay, so you're 2 feet too close on the side yard.
Yes, basically yes. And I submitted pictures that I believe that my assistant says she sent to you guys so you guys can see it.
Correct. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
And yes, say it one more time.
I'm just asking some questions, sir. Hold on one sec. Does
Okay.
anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application 581-20, Keith R. Roach, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602, Residence AA District, east side of Ocean Avenue, 586.6 feet south of Karshik Street, Bohemia, New York. Is anyone here in this application?
We've got the applicant and his representative. Eric, you just have to, there you go.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear it all?
I couldn't hear him speaking.
My name is Eric Bjornby. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Bjornby, architect. I'm the applicant of record from EAB Architectural Designs, 4250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Suite 2040W, Holbrook, New York, 11741. We're here representing the owner, Keith Roche, at 971 Ocean Avenue in Bohemia. We're here seeking a variance to allow for an accessory apartment in their existing home. The existing house is 3,353 square feet. They're proposing a 670 square foot apartment, converting an existing bedroom and living space that they had on the second floor into an apartment. The original house was built in 1996, and they had planned for that to be a possibility in the future. And so that's the situation now. So they're looking to have that made into an accessory apartment to assist them with the financial burden of the home.
Right. So it's, as you stated, I believe 670 square feet. Appears the driveway complies. Everything else is in order, Mayor?
Everything else is in order, yes.
Right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan will take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application
Second.
to establish an accessory apartment for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted, sir, 3 and 3 years.
Good.
Couldn't hear him. Is he okay? Is he good? Application number 582-20, Robert and Geneva Chiatti. I'm trying that one out, sorry. Permission to leave shed having side yard of 0.3 feet instead of required 2 feet, Residence A District, east side of Davidson Lane East, 1,227.41 feet south of Magoon Road, West Islip. Is anyone here in this application?
We have the applicant's representative. There we go. Larry, you have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Gotcha. All right. Hi, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have here a simple application for an 8x10 shed, which is close to a side yard property line. Requires 2 feet. It is 0.3 feet. Rather than move it, they've chosen to apply for variance because they feel that because of its construction, moving it would destroy it. And there are not a lot of other places to put it on the property anyway. If you could see by the survey, it's kind of a, it's got the lagoon on one side, the street on the other side. It's a pretty narrow piece of property. And what you don't see on this survey is the neighbor's shed is right up, almost butt up against it. So I don't think the neighbor, unless they're here today to complain, I don't think they would be.
Yeah, we see these many times on the small shed.
Yeah.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan will take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, so have a good night.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Application 583-20, Michael J. Shrine and Donna L. Dione Shrine. Permission to leave patio having side yard of 2.5 feet, the required 6 feet, residence AAA district, west side of Blake Avenue, 1,104.1 feet north of Oakwood Road, Bohemia.
Hi.
Application.
Homeowner is here, Mike Strine, 146 Blake.
Shrine, how are you tonight?
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Good. So you're here for a small patio, having a small side yard.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually at an angle. So 2.5 feet is at the worst case. It's actually about a little over 4 feet at the best, which is still under 6 feet. It's a wooded lot next door.
Sure.
Neighbor has no problem with it. The
Yep.
pool, when constructed, was put by the previous owner, was put awful close. I don't know why they did that, but they did that.
Seems de minimis, small patio. Not
Yeah.
very involved in big.
It's a
Does
small
anyone wish
patio.
to be heard in this application?
I'm
Does the
sorry?
board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, so have a good night.
Great, thank you.
Application 584-20, Roberto Ramirez, permission to leave patio having side yard of 1.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, Residence B District, north side of Cypress Street, 250 feet west of Boulevard Avenue, Central Islip.
There is nobody here on this application.
Second call.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Second call.
we'll try it again later, but this is the second time we've put it on. He did call after the last hearing and said he was out of town. So I thought he was walked through the steps for registering on Zoom, but maybe no. I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay.
If you want to second call it, we can sure give that a try.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
we'll second call it.
Yeah, okay.
Application 584-20. James Joseph Powers Jr. and James Powers. Permission to leave above ground pool having side yard of 12 feet. It's required 14 feet. And building separation of 3 feet. It's required 6 feet. A district south side of Roslyn Street, 180 feet east of Cunningham Place, Islip Terrace. Anyone here on the application?
Let's see if we need to help them a little bit. We have Jay Powers. Here we go. Oh, both of you.
Good evening.
Hi, you got us?
I can hear you.
We're
How are you?
here. James Powers and James Joseph Powers Jr.,
Just the address for the record, please, sir.
70 Roslyn Street, Islip Terrace.
Great. So you have an above ground pool a little too close and some building separation a little too close, correct?
Correct.
How long has the pool been there?
Late last summer, and we didn't know we needed a permit. Now we know, and we've gone through all the steps.
It appears
Hopefully.
that the distance of the pool is measured off the fence, not the property line. So there's your 2 feet there. Building separation, Mary, did you have anything to say from planning?
Hold on. It gets a side yard of 10, a side yard of 12, both in 2013, a side yard from 1988 of 6.5, and no objections.
Okay. Great. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Application 585-20, Michael Anthony Kmiotek and Nina Nicole Roselli. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving rear yard of 10 feet and side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet each, and pool patio having side and rear yards of 4 feet instead of required 6 feet each. Residence A District, north side of 4th Drive, 180 feet east of Sycamore Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Is anyone here in this application?
Yes.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman? Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York.
Yes, how are you, sir?
Okay, I don't know if you can see me, if the camera's on or not, or if that matters. Before I begin, I just want to point out my disappointment. I was also on item 579-20. I had registered for that. I was hoping to do battle with Mr. Wexler while he was all fired up, but I missed the opportunity. I'm just glad that everything went smoothly for the client.
Well, we can put it on again and maybe we'll change my decision.
Hold on. Let me pipe. You're welcome, Steve.
Thanks, man.
That's my bad.
All right, Steve, I'll double up on this one.
I got a good one coming your way, sir, shortly. In any event, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's been well. It's been a while. As you can see from the survey that you have in front of you and up on the screen, the rear yard of this particular property only gives us about 20 and a half feet. So the only possible place to put the pool, which, as you know, gives us one of the items that we need on the applicant, we can't really achieve it in any other way. New York State Building Code does require a 10-foot separation between structures, but many municipalities, Islip included, do not abide by that. And as you can see, we've submitted at 9 feet, which would not get us too close to the house, but still give us a comfortable walkway to get past. So that is the reason we need the 12-foot setback on the one side, and the rear yard pushing the pool further back so that the staircase can go further beyond the existing corner of the house, again, leaving us enough room to get through. As you know, the swimming pool is not going to have any adverse effect on the environment. It's not necessarily going to change the nature and character of the area, and certainly the benefits to the applicant here will outweigh any detriment somebody may have.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bertolino, we like to have, as you know, at least one side comply. Could you make the 9 feet 7 feet? And this way you'll have 14 on the western side, and then we'll have our one side compliant rule.
You know, I looked at that as well. I believe if you look closely on the survey, there appears to be like a chimney just on the abutting the house there. So the 9 feet is to the house, but that chimney sticks out about 2 feet right there on the left side. Yeah, exactly, right there. So I know you want to comply in some way. You know, we possibly could slide the pool forward, but then you don't have the access to the staircase, and it puts the pool right on the corner of the house. I don't know.
Well, you know, we like to have, and we normally do require one side compliant unless there's precedent, which I'm thinking there isn't. But if there isn't, why don't you make one side compliant and then everybody's happy?
We'll see what we can do. You know, whether it's one side or the other, I just don't know at this very moment which side that could be. I mean, we could certainly slide the pool forward, but then we would have to reconfigure the staircase. You know, at this moment in time, I don't know if it would be better to slide the pool forward to the front and comply in the rear, or to slide it over closer to the house and make it 7 feet because of that item, that chimney that seems to be in the way there.
Mr. Bertolino, I think I have to say this probably once I've ever had to say it to you. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Having a pool is a privilege, not a right, and not every property is built in such a way that a pool can be accommodated. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I hear ghosts of Dick Shire.
Well, I had to defend enough of his decisions.
Mr. Nicoli, I do appreciate your comments and I understand where they're coming from, and certainly, the pool is quite small. As you can see, it's a 1428. It is certainly not a large pool by any stretch, as this board is well aware. We build much larger pools in there. So we have, made our best efforts to make this pool comply. If my choice is to make it comply, I'm going to say that we will comply in the rear yard and leave the side yard alone because I don't want to crowd the access between the house and the pool.
Mr. Berlino, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Mr.
So you don't have to make a decision right now. We can craft a decision that one side must comply. This way you can tweak it the way you feel best.
Mr. Wexler, if the board would give me that open-ended approval, I would certainly take it and run.
Well, that's fine, but Mary, did you have any?
All she had was one precedent from 1984, and she says side yard of 8 and rear yard of 8. And then she writes no objections, rear yard against another rear yard.
Well, I know our chairman is going to research that precedent to make sure it's not in conflict with anything, and he's doing it right now.
What research? He knows it by heart. He knows every decision this board has ever made.
So what do we?
So wait, I just want to be clear that Deirdre said that there is one precedent for it, and she have no objection.
Yes.
Well, she said it was in 1984. So, but she says, yeah, side yard of 8 and a rear yard of 8.
Well,
within
Mary,
500 feet.
I gather, or else she wouldn't have written it for fear of death.
Well, then there we go.
And I believe it sounded to me that it was 8 feet and 8 feet. And I apologize for not having that precedent and thank Deirdre for finding it for us. I can't imagine that my application for 10 and 12 is any worse than 8 and 8.
How did I know you were going to say that? But if we have precedent for much less, not knowing what that may be, a sump, it may be next to a right of way, it may be next to a Lilco, who knows, maybe next to a state prison, but that's the way our board runs. If there's precedent, we run.
Well, former Mario Cuomo governor took away our only state prison on Long Island a long time ago. But we'll leave that conversation for a different time.
All right, let's take a vote. Does anyone?
You can always develop a prison next to your house, Mr. Bertolino. I'm sure.
My house is a prison, Mr. Messina.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to grant the application.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Application 586-20, Frank and Nancy Garafola. Permission to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code 68-419.1. Residence A District, west side of Rock Road, 921.15 feet south of Connecticut Avenue, Islip Terrace.
Okay, she just got on, so here she comes. She's gonna be a little flustered. Actually called her and helped her get in.
It's all fine. We don't bite. Well, not all of us bite anyway.
All right, Nancy, we're ready. We've got you now. Just asked you to start your video.
I missed 401.
That was the point, John. That was the point of this whole thing.
Please make sure that's in the record, Natasha. Please.
And John, now this can all be over. You learned your lesson.
And if we go back to 401, the first time you knock that place, I'm coming over the table at you. Won't do me any good, but I'm doing it.
And I'll be from the other side, Mr. Wexler.
It could be 10 of us, and I think it's a losing battle.
Oh, man. Do we have Miss Garafola in yet? Anyone? You?
She's on mute.
She's in, she's looking at us, but our host, Tom from IT. Hi, Nancy. I don't think you have a microphone on your device, do you?
Well, Mary, she's in. She can probably see us or hear us. Do you think we can
Yes, I think we can.
vote on it?
Hold on.
Actually, Mary's talking to us, so if she needs to say anything, she could say it through Mary. We could do it that way, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's see. I've got her on speaker. We've tried this before. Let's see if this works.
Two-family,
Okay.
family only, correct?
Right.
This is actually a transfer. This was a two-family, family use only that we had before for the Thompsons. They were established and they renewed 3 times. So the property has sold, and Frank and Nancy Garafola are the new owners. And they are 73 and 69 years of age, and their daughter lives with them.
Awesome. And everything's in order with the house?
Everything's in order. Like I said previously, it was a legal two-family, family use only, and they're just transferring it.
All right, awesome. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion that we grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Good job,
Application
good job.
granted. See you in 3 years.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Application 587-20, Cynthia J. Kaplan, permission to erect second-story addition 21 by 32 irregular, leaving floor area ratio of 26.45% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, west side of Wampum Lane, 155.37 feet south of Willits Lane, West Islip. Anyone here in this application?
I just promoted the applicant and their representative.
Is that black coffee you're drinking, Mr. Messina?
It is indeed, Mr. Chairman.
I'm jealous. That's a nice.
I got a beautiful machine that grinds the beans and makes it and just fabulous.
You will sleep tonight after drinking black coffee at this hour?
Mary, can we get an aerial of this one, please?
I will. And
Wow.
but this is kind of pushing it. Once I hit up against 7 o'clock, that's when I cut it off. So
Yeah.
You believe when he doesn't deliver us all our coffee like he used to?
Yeah, I know.
well, you could all come over for the next meeting.
All right, so is Mrs. Kaplan in or her representative?
Our representative is in. John,
He's on mute.
okay, John, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, here, I see it right here.
You just did it. Now you're on mute again. There you go.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, hi, my name is John Tufel. I'm a professional engineer, 707 Route 110, Farmingdale, New York. I'm appearing tonight representing Gary and Cynthia Kaplan of 150 Wampum Lane, West Islip, who are seeking a floor area ratio variance to construct a second-story addition to their family's residence. The zone is Residence A, where a 25% floor area ratio is permitted, and we're requesting 26.45%.
Mr. Tufel, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So you're here just for FAR, you know, us as a board, I'm sure you heard in the past that although the code says 25, we see up to 30 without a problem most of the time. So you okay if we cut you off in this move?
Absolutely, sure.
Not to be rude, I just figured to move it along for you and all of us.
Of course, no, that's fine.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Motion grant the application, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Application granted, sir. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
Take care.
Ooh, excuse me.
Application 588-20, Michael E. and Karen F. Mushhorn, permission to install in-ground pool with water feature leaving rear yard of 6 feet to water feature and side yard of 8 feet instead of required 10 feet each. To install pool patio resulting in rear yard occupancy of 40% instead of required 30%. To leave driveway having side yard of 2.8 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, east side of Peace Lane, 306.44 feet north of Montauk Highway, West Islip.
Hello.
Hello.
Wait, start video. Did that go? Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yes. And I think my client's on as well.
Yes.
Start my video. Okay. Okay, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Christine from Accurate Expediting, office at 286A Belmont Avenue, West Babylon, New York, 11704. Tonight, we have an application before you for an in-ground pool requesting a variance on rear and side yard of 8 feet. One small portion where there would be a water feature is considered a 6-foot setback, which the brickwork for that is actually inclusive with the pool. The reason for the request for the relaxation on the rear yard and the side yard is because their backyard isn't that big. There's an existing detached garage that was there when they purchased the home, and it takes up approximately 25 feet of their backyard. The pool patio would meet the setbacks, just asking for a rear yard lot occupancy there. As far as the driveway goes, it leads up to the rear in line with the detached garage. There is precedent across the street for a pool relaxation, a case that I was the representative on, and which was granted at 7.3 feet in January of this year.
Wait, on
When-
both sides?
Rear
On
yard
both
or side
sides or just one?
One side, 7.3.
And what's the other side complied?
The other side complied.
Okay, that's in keeping with our, all right.
So Ms. Fay, Ms. Fay, as you know, one side the board likes to see comply. Is there a way they can shift this pool just 2 feet west and have the rear yard comply with 10 and the side yard with 8?
It's funny because I just heard the one side ruling or just, decision that the board likes to grant one side and keeping up with compliance. When Mr. Mushorn came to me and asked if I would represent him, I told him not to go closer than the 8 feet on both sides and that it should be okay because we had a previous grant across the street. I worked with Teresa in zoning on it and consulted with Deirdre from planning. If we moved it closer and kept it 10 feet in the back, it would be close to the house. If we moved it over to give 10 foot on the side yard, then it would be going over an existing brick patio, which is already there. So
I appreciate all that, and I just know that the board, some members of the board like to see one side comply. So there's other. If you could shift it 2 feet, I think probably to the west would be the best for them, being that they don't want to disturb that brick patio. But that's a decision you and your clients would have to make. I think that they would. I believe that the board would be okay with seeing that. Obviously, we have to vote for it, but. Is that something that they're possibly?
My
okay?
client is on too, so he can speak for himself on that. I can't speak for him on that.
Well, also the prior application, I think that you told us that you had observed it. I noticed that was a 14-foot wide pool. So if you were to build, or your client were to build a 14-foot, then you could comply on that one side. And then everything that you want, you would get.
Right. But, let my client speak for himself on that. His pool, 16 by 28. Mike, are you on?
Yes, I am on.
Mr.
Okay.
Mushroom, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you today, sir?
We as a board like to see one side comply. Would you be willing to shift the pool 2 feet towards the west, closer to the house, so the one side complies? You have precedent of that in the area.
Is there, do we know if there's precedent of both sides? I heard a couple before there was. How do we find out if there?
Yeah. How do we know if there's precedents in town of West Islip that had both relaxation on the rear?
Well, it wouldn't be in the town of Islip. It would be within 500 feet of your dwelling.
Okay.
And the only precedent that they have brought up from your expediter is the one across the street, which has one side complying at 14 feet and the other side is 7.3. So you're at 8 and 8. Your zoning is 10 foot by rear and side, not the 14 across the street. So if we can shift it 2 feet, everything else I think is somewhat de minimis you're asking for relief on.
Mr. Chairman, just if I could if this is the point where we're going to shift the pool, I'm going to have to go into my existing brick patio. At that point, I might as well just rip the whole patio up and then maybe put the pool in a different,
I think you're not following me. Not towards the brick patio, towards your house.
Towards the house.
Shift it 2
Yeah,
feet closer
west.
to this, not towards the brick patio.
Okay. I mean, if I shift it towards the house, there's really not going to be much room between the house and the pool. I think that would be more of a safety issue. I mean, I don't.
There's actually a lot of room. That the issue is where it jogs out with your brick patio. And we do see, you have plenty of room between the house and the pool. So I'm not trying to be difficult, and I apologize if I sound like I am, but I know how the board's going to react to this, and they're going to want one side complying. So
I just have one more bit of information from Deirdre's notes.
Go ahead.
Christine's case 062-20 was granted the side yard of 7.3, but she also has another fairly recent one within 500 feet. It's 285-19, a side yard of 6. I only point that out to you because if possibly shifting the 8 down a little would accommodate its move to the west.
Well, I'm sure you have all the facts of that case. This is going
not
back
only
to
that,
before
one
Lena.
side complies in that case as well, correct?
Yeah.
One side complies, but I'm just
Right.
saying possibly
So-
reducing the 1/8 that you're.
Mary, do we know anything about why we granted 6 feet?
No, I'll look it up right now if you want.
No, it's just making a point.
But the point is, Mr. Wex, is one side complies anyway.
Right,
so-
exactly.
So as long as, I mean, if one side complies, we go back to what originally said.
With all due respect, sir, ripping up a little brick is a lot cheaper than litigating a denial.
Well, it's not a
Good
little
call.
brick, but Mary, what were you saying, the 6 feet?
Oh, wait, ma'am, we ask the questions. That's our job as the board.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Mr.
We do
Mr.
this every
That's a
Tuesday.
good try, though.
So this is, I think, what the board's offering, Mr. Mishmarshon, if you could shift it to comply on one side, and then everything else on your application that you're looking for seems de minimis, and I think you'll have the.
I really wish we would have been aware of only the one side, because it may have changed the whole plans of everything that we were doing or trying to do. I mean,
We
I mean,
can
I-
adjourn this for you,
Point
sir.
well.
Sir, if you want, we can adjourn this for you and you can come back with a different plan if you wish. We'd have to re-advertise it probably, but.
You should probably take the one side, but I am actually, this was news to me that came up to me just 2 days ago that the board was accepting only one side to comply, not both sides. So I advise my clients on.
Okay, you know, we're going around in circles here. Do you want an adjournment to reconfigure, or do you want one side? I mean, I think that's where our board is headed.
Can I have a moment to
I mean,
just ask my client?
No, come on, let's move on, guys.
Mike, are
Which one do you
willing-
want?
Which,
what do you want to do? I mean, really, like, there's not an exception at all. Like, this isn't going to change
Mr.
the
Chairman,
character.
we're going around in circles here.
I understand.
Can we-
Hold on one sec, Mr. Wex. I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna fix it right now. So that is an exception, Mr. Marshall, and I apologize. I know it's hard to hear when you're trying to make your backyard a little better, but you know, the only thing we can do, which we normally do, is, you know, give you a little bit on one side and have comply on the other side. In my opinion, and my opinion doesn't mean much, if you shifted it 2 feet or made the pool a little bit smaller, you'd be in compliance on that one side. I'm not telling you what to do, but going around and around with this with the rest of the board is not going to get you any further than it is right this moment. So I'm not trying to be rude or difficult, but I'm just trying to help you out.
Mr. Mushorn, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Take a short adjournment, meet with your architect or your pool builder, whoever it is, play with it. You have space. I'm sure you can make it work in a way that makes you happy.
Thank you, whoever just said that, because I don't see your face. Thank you.
I'm right here.
Thank you.
You want to get one side and put it up
We could adjourn. I don't-
Mike, is it possible to do the one side complying and get granted the rear where it says the 8 and the 6 foot for the water feature? They're willing to grant you the rear yard, the 8 foot with the water feature.
Have you looked at turning the pool the other way? Maybe
Not
that would benefit you. You don't want to do it?
There wasn't enough room.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
do whatever.
I mean, if we go for the if we go for save the one side as of now, the 2-foot relaxation on the one side, and then you grant it, and we decide just not to do the pool, there's no problem with that, right? If we decide just to say we don't want to do it.
No, no.
All right, then I guess, all
All right, let Christine.
right, Christine, I guess we'll just accept the relaxation on the rear. We're gonna get the 6 feet for the water feature?
Yes,
That's not,
everything else will come, we're gonna vote on it, but everything else seems to focus on what you're asking for. It's just the placement of the pool.
all right, we'll
What
accept.
we can do is we can grant that for you that way, if the board chooses to vote that way, and whatever you do with it, you can make it seem fit. You'll have the 10 feet on the rear and the 8 foot on the side, and we'll vote on the rest of the stuff. Does that work for you? Or you could take a short adjournment. I'm not trying to make your decision tonight. You could take a short adjournment.
I know, I just really didn't realize that this was an issue. Otherwise, I didn't think it would change the characteristics of the neighborhood. When I read everything, I didn't realize that you only guys. Now, is this something that the town's only granting recently, or is this something that's been going on for a while, that you're only granting one side, or how is there?
10 years.
We see
I've been on the
pools. We
board
see
10
pools a
years.
lot.
We've been following that for 10 years. 10 years.
So 10 years is only, you only grant one side, not both.
10
Yeah.
years.
All right, so then I guess we'll just take the 2-foot relaxation on the rear.
In the rear, Mr. Chairman, that's for the rear. So that means they're gonna not move the pool to the west, they're gonna move it to the north.
The rear of your yard is the east side. I'm assuming you're on Peace. Is it Peace Lane you're on? Yeah, so the rear would be to move the pool 2 feet up would be moving it west on the property, in my opinion.
We wanna move it north. They'll have
North
one.
is a brick patio, Christine.
No, Mr. Chairman's correct. If we're moving the pool towards closer to the house, it would be moving it 2 feet to the west.
To the west.
Right, that's the west. But that means you're not gonna have 6 feet. You're gonna have 8 feet with the water feature.
Yes,
That's
water
fine.
feature would be 8 feet. The pool would be 10 off the rear, and off the side, 8 foot. Correct.
Okay.
So that's moving it in both directions.
No, you're gonna leave the 8 foot on the rear yard, the side yard, and the 10 foot
Side.
on the rear yard.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
All right, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Let's just go really quick. I apologize. The rear yard occupancy, we see up to 40% all the time, even though it's permitted 30, and the driveway having a side yard of 2.8 instead of required 4. We see that a lot too, and we grant that too on that side yard. So everything else looks okay.
I just need to say one more thing, because the water feature, since it was gonna be 8 foot with a 6 foot water feature, it has to be now 10 feet with an 8 foot part for the water feature.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we deny so much the application seeking to have 8 feet instead of 10 feet on both the side and the rear yard. However, grant the applicant a variance to have 8 foot on one side and 10 on the other.
And the water feature.
Including the water feature, which I know will have 8 feet.
Yes.
And grant the remainder of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What a night.
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Michael, call you.
Try to get out of this.
Oh, let me get them out.
All right, application 589-20, Nancy Costanzo. Permission to erect one-story addition, 10 foot by 16 feet, leaving rear yard of 22.5 feet instead of required 25 feet, resulting in dwelling having lot occupancy of 21.7% instead of permitted 20%, to leave reconstructed deck having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 6 feet, and rear yard occupancy of 13.51% instead of permitted 10%. Residential redevelopment district, south side of Walnut Street, 136 feet east of McKinley Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Is anyone here in this application?
Yes, hi, good evening, Chairman.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi, Kathleen Mckinley with Long Island Permits, representing the applicant. My address is P.O. Box 5, Center Merchants, New York, 11934.
How are you tonight?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. Stage case.
I'm here before you to requesting permission to construct a 10 by 16 rear sunroom addition and maintain the reconstructed existing deck. We're located in the residential redevelopment district. I have submitted for the board's consideration pictures of the subject property, as well as a no objection letter from Ms. Constanza's westerly neighbor who would be most affected by the construction of the sunroom. I'd also like to state for the record, Ms. Constanza is highly allergic to mosquitoes and all bugs that bite and sting. So she's unable to utilize her backyard right now. Her hope is that if the relief we're seeking is granted, the construction of the sunroom will allow her to be able to utilize her backyard. We believe the relief we are seeking is minor and that if granted would have no negative impact on the neighborhood. And I welcome any questions the board may have.
Great. How high is the deck off the ground?
I can check for you. Let me pull the plans.
This is a reconstructed deck. Are you constructing, just redoing what's already there?
Yes, redoing what's already there.
And was what already is already there, did that get built pursuant to a permit?
No, she thought that it was, but it was never permitted. And when we went to go legalize the sunroom, we
Okay, I got it.
realized.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm trying to find the information that you are looking, that you asked, but that might take me a moment. I'm not sure I have that readily available.
In the photo, it appears that there's in 4 steps, you're on top of the deck, right? So if each were an 8-inch rise, we'd be looking at 32 inches.
Roughly
I'm looking at
32.
3 feet here is what I'm showing. I
Yep.
think.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mary, does Deirdre have anything with planning's position?
All Deirdre tells us is that there's no precedent.
I have a question. Maybe I'm misreading the call, but what is the side yard setback of the sunroom?
1 foot.
And Mary, what's the required setback in the RRD district?
Well, it says instead of required 6 feet, but this is 0 lot line development, right? Is this unit adjacent to the neighbor who wrote in and supported, or do they have a 0 lot line?
Yes. It's one of the multi-family houses.
Will, this might be a good time for the aerial. So this is College Woods in Central Islip, the former Carlton Park. So residential redevelopment district.
Yeah, Mary, you and I are the only ones who remember what Carlton Park is. Maybe Mr. Wexner.
It just gets me thinking.
Of course I do.
I know.
We're just too old. Okay.
Oh, wait, so we're not seeking a side yard setback for the addition because it's a 0 lot line.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
So no precedent planning has, but no objection, you said?
Just wrote no precedent. She started. I imagine if she had her choice, she would have liked to have done some research on the RRD. I have the aerial photograph. So Will, the aerial, if you could just do the pointer, it's in the center, a little to the right of where you are, a little more right.
A little bit on.
A little more right to the white. There you go. Now you just passed over it. Go back. Go back a little more. More. It's good white. There you go. That's the subject parcel. That's the deck that we see in the photos. That's gray in color. The letter of support came from the neighbor on the other side of the red line. They share a common wall.
Okay, got it.
Maybe, Mary, can I ask a question? They want to enclose this deck?
That's what I thought. I thought the screen room was going on top of the deck. So
It is a portion of it.
All right, let me just ask, aren't there a whole slew of these buildings in that area?
Yes.
I remember they built it. And are we prepared now every time an application comes up, because there's a bunch of them, are we prepared to grant it? Is that where the board wants to go on these? I don't know right on the lot line. I don't know.
You know, there aren't, as you can see, there isn't much room if you're going to build a deck off of, well, by definition, it's going to be on the lot line. If you're going to build a deck off of your back, the back of your house, because they're right on, the backs of the houses are right on the lot line.
Correct.
So if you're going to allow decks, period, you're going to have to allow them at 0 lot line if there isn't already precedent for that anyway.
Do we know anything about this neighborhood? How many decks are there? We haven't granted any, so we know there are none legally. Is this something that we want to study a little bit? I don't think we've ever had this.
All
type
we
of
know is we haven't
application.
granted one within 500. All we know is we haven't granted one within 500 feet, but I think in a plan like this, the area of relevant precedent should be expanded a little bit beyond the 500 feet.
Well, whether they are, and I mean, you know,
The nature and, you know, and I'm not trying to be difficult. I would like to explore a little more research also myself, but you know, are we holding ourselves to, if we allow this deck with the sunroom up on a lot line, are we opening ourselves up for future relief?
That was my concern.
Very valid questions. I would ask to reserve because we need to do a little bit more research on this zoning district. It's not one that we see a lot of applications from.
Understood. I understand it's a different type
Yeah.
of district that
Yeah.
requires different research.
Right. And that may in fact inure to your client's benefit, frankly.
Yeah, and I just would like to say that for the record, you know, I appreciate you guys looking into it, and it is a kind of strange situation where in order for her to be able to utilize, you know, have a deck or anything like that, you know, it's hard for her to stay within the restrictions and the setbacks because of the shared property.
Sure. Understood.
So Kathleen, all we have for a graphic is the survey that you submitted with the yellow highlight where the screen room is going to be. Do you have any kind of elevation that might help the board understand it?
I can drop off some plans. Do they want like color rendering? You know, can it just be like a simple elevation of what it's going to look like? Because
what do you got?
Whatever you wish. The more realistic, the more detailed, the better for us, I think.
Okay, what I can do is I can drop off a set of the plans to you guys. And then if you would like more, I can have the architect do some more, you know, in-depth color renderings if that helps.
Fabulous.
Okay.
So let's start with just the plans.
Okay, that works.
Thanks so much. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicoli, I'll take a motion.
Motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Application.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
You
You
too.
too.
Application 590-20, Richard F. Montalbano, permission to leave attached garage having side yard of 8 feet instead of required 14 feet, to install driveway leaving side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet, having front yard occupancy of 45.26% instead of permitted 35%, and to leave patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, Residence A District, west side of Namdak Avenue, 75 feet north of Damon Street, Bay Shore, New York. Anyone here in this application?
The architect is here. And the applicant was here earlier, but is no longer, so maybe is watching on YouTube.
Yeah. You got me?
Sort of.
We're good? I don't even see myself talking.
Hold on, let's see if I can help. Yes, sir.
Is this the applicant, Mayor, or is this the?
It's the applicant's representative
I'm
from
here.
Architects.
Okay.
I'm here. I can see you guys. Can you see me?
I'm asking you to start your video. Do you have a camera on your device?
I'm using my phone. What video? Stop video.
There you go.
Stop video. Can you see me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you're broken up, sir.
Well, my name is Nicholas Capucci. I work with Title Architects. We're here as CEO for a client that we did a project for back then, 2 years ago. This came about during construction, going for 5CO. Some production that we did.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting any of this.
So you're all broken up. You have a bad connection. Is there any way you can get somewhere where there's a better connection? Would you like
Well, I
to?
guess, can you guys have any questions about it? I can hear you guys fine.
So I don't have any lessons on it for you right this moment, but we can give you a second call and you can try and sign out and sign back in and see if you have a better connection.
I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, you guys been breaking up all the whole 15 other people that I've been listening to you for.
The problem
you wanna
is
sign in
our,
again?
the problem is our stenographer cannot take down what you're saying. So whether you've heard 15 other people break up on your end, they've been clear on our end. So why don't you take a second call and see if you can't go somewhere to get a clear path? Okay?
Why don't I call in the phone? Let me call Mary, or I'll do a phone call and just call you guys.
No, it doesn't work like that.
My office?
Okay, if you'd like, I can explain this
Call my office and put me on speakerphone.
All right. Mr. Chairman, second call, please.
Yeah, we're
Thank
gonna,
you.
we're gonna take a second call for you, sir, and just try and get a better connection and call us back. Second call, Mayor. We can't even hear him.
Yeah, I know.
Application number 517-20 adjourned from September 1st, 2020. Victor T. and Christina M. Kelly. Permission to use dwelling for two-family use only pursuant to section 68-419.1 to erect two-story addition 22 by 50 irregular, leaving side yard of 14 feet instead of required 18 feet. Addition exceeding maximum addition of 1/3 of the primary dwelling pursuant to section 68-419.1 E6, and to leave shed having rear yard of 1.8 instead of required 2 feet. Residence AA District, west side of Aberdeen Road, 110 feet south of Arthur Lane, Bay Shore, New York. Anyone here in this application?
Yes, we have Ed Goldrick.
Yes, I am Ed Goldrick, 203 Grand Boulevard, Deer Park, New York. I'm here on behalf of my son-in-law Victor and my daughter Christina Kelly at 992 Aberdeen. Bay Shore.
Could you just spell your last name for me, please, sir?
Sure. Goldrick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you, sir?
Good. Hello, Chairman and Board. Thank you again for the previous adjournment that we severely amended the plans, and I'm certainly hoping that it goes through this time.
Okay, so give us a little fill-in about what you amended.
Okay, so we went from a 2-story to a 1-story now. We shrunk it up a little bit, and so that severely, obviously, reduced the ratio that we were concerned about. And we're speaking with Deirdre. We several times we have a precedent for the side yard setback to 14 feet. I think she had granted its precedent 123-04 was granted. To reduce it down to 13.5, we're doing 14 and I think 14.3 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And like I said, we went to a single family, and this way that alleviated a single story, I'm sorry. And that alleviated the complete rehabilitation of the upstairs of the main dwelling with egress windows and reconfiguration of the downstairs also.
So the call still calls for a 2-story addition, so that's not happening?
It does, John, and that's our fault. We had a little cross paths, and the plans did not come to me to make the change in time for publication. So as soon as the applicants got the public notice, they contacted us, and we agreed that we would just amend it at the hearing. So it absolutely has been changed to a 1-story addition. I would probably suggest for now that we just leave dimensions out, because I sure as heck can't read them on that plan. And Deirdre does support it by saying there was a 1-story addition granted in 2004, having a side yard of 13.4 instead, 13.5 instead of 18.
Okay.
In reducing the size of the proposed addition, it is believed that the percent of the overall house that the addition for the apartment will occupy is going to be about 39%, which is in keeping what we have done, 39% instead of the permitted 33.3%, which is in keeping in some that we've done even more recently under 40%.
Okay. All right, so would you like to amend the call to meeting for the record? Is that what you're stating?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion to amend the call of the meeting to state to erect one-story addition, leaving side yard of 14 feet instead of required 18 feet.
And I believe Mary also has the affidavit from
Hold
the
on one
neighbor.
hold on one second, sir. Let's just finish this amendment.
Sure, thank you.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application amended. All right, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem, thank you. We also have an affidavit, I believe Mary has that. I don't know if she passed it on or not, from the neighbor, the southern neighbor that would be on that side of the addition. An affidavit stating that they have no objections to the proposed project.
I have a letter of support in my hand. I can't jam it through the computer screens for everybody to have it. Sorry. I have a letter of support in my hand from the neighbors, Thomas and Jacqueline Ricciarelli. It was sworn to, so it's an affidavit, and it says that they have no objection to the proposed application for neighbors Victor and Christina Kelly at the above listed address.
Okay, great. And everything's in order for the family use. Only medical seems to be what it's based on. Is that correct, Mary?
That's correct, sir, yes.
Medical for the Goldricks, who are moving in with their daughter and son-in-law.
Great. All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
A motion to grant the application as amended for a period and to grant the two-family for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Application granted as amended, sir. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you very much,
Ed.
everybody's
Good
help.
job.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Application 591-20, Pavlo Tupchak. I'm sorry. Permission to erect a two-story dwelling on lot not having required width of 75 feet throughout, having lot area of 7,510 square feet instead of required 11,250 square feet, leaving floor area ratio of 39.8% instead of permitted 25%, and first floor elevation of 14.2% instead of permitted 11 feet. I'm sorry, 14.2 feet instead of permitted 11 feet. Residence A District, south side of Sequoms Lane Center, 1,496.70 feet south of Park Place, West Islip.
Good evening, guys.
How are you today?
Good. How are you? Do you guys see me or no?
We see a picture.
Oh, it's my wife. Start my video. Okay.
It better be, sir.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
My name is Pavlo Tupachuk. I currently live at 34 Stewart Avenue, Babylon, New York. What else do you need? So yeah, we're looking to redevelop this property, and currently on this property, I know we have variances approved for the side yards, and I'm looking to eliminate everything and to comply with the codes at each 14 feet side yards. We are asking for a little bit higher FAR percentage from 25, which is allowed, to 39.8.
You say that's a little.
Everything on the street, it was approved considering my neighbors on the 3,900 square foot lot. They have no side yard. I believe they're about 2-3 feet off my property line. And the house appears to be about 1,800 to about 2,000 square feet. There was a case for my neighbor to the west. They applied for 42%, I believe. And they were granted, I believe it was 30.9. They're a much bigger property, and that's that.
You have a precedent, sir, for your anywhere near your 39.8 in 500 square feet?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Do you have a precedent for anywhere in 500 square feet of your 39.8% request of FAR?
Yeah, we applied for a couple of FOIL requests, but during the pandemic, we weren't able to get everything back in time.
So would you like to take an adjournment and get that? Because you gave us one precedent at 30.9%. And that's nowhere near the 39.8% you're requesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if I want to take an adjournment. I was listening to all the cases. I know you guys are okay approving up to what, 30% or so.
30%.
Just wanted to hear where you guys stand on this.
We stand at 30%.
Okay. Would you guys consider, I mean, this is a smaller property, so I do understand that it does, in the beginning, it does open up to about 28 feet. And then at the end, it opens up to 81.7 or 82 feet wide. So considering we're eliminating all the side variance, rear, front variances, I was hoping you guys would be able to consider something a little bit.
Mary, I'm sure Deirdre from planning wrote something on this application. I can't imagine she did not.
She did. She said they recommended 31%.
They recommend 31%?
Yeah, I mean, I know in Sequams, especially with some of these Sandy rebuilds, we have had some, FARs going a little bit over 30%, but not too much.
Okay, and what about the 14.2 first floor elevations that have permitted 11? Excuse me.
Well, we've had a bunch of those cases lately, and I don't think we've done any as high as 14.
Exactly.
I mean, you can see, you can't see it. So there's an elevation in the file. It's, in my opinion, a three-story house. Would you say so, Pablo? I mean, they're
So the reason being for that is to have the garage underneath the structure.
right.
And for me, I would love to have this property for my family. Looking to move. I'm a developer in the area, so I'm looking to move here with my 3 kids and my wife.
Mr. Chairman, if we don't have any idea of what precedent we've granted on height, are we just guessing?
Well, I also think, Mr. Wexler, that the applicant would be well served to maybe make an appointment with planning and go over the requests and see perhaps if there's something he can do to make his application more palatable.
I agree.
He didn't want to.
Well, I know, but I'm offering him that again, hoping he'll take the subtle hint.
Will, could you show us the aerial of this location? It's a bit unique. Okay, so there's 2 cul-de-sacs shown there. This is the eastern cul-de-sac, and the subject parcel is straight at the end of the cul-de-sac, the whitish backyard, that's it. So that's the subject parcel.
I can't see how the adjoining neighbor didn't require some tremendous variance relief as well.
The adjoining house was built in 1936. I just looked it up when the applicant noted that the lot area is.
And the same thing with the property on the other side. It looks very densely developed as well.
Yeah, I can check and see when that was built, but the house to the east was built in 1936.
I mean, so there is a nature and character, argument to be made here.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to go back to my suggestion and Mr. Messina's, and I know our chairman's, take an adjournment and get us some precedent.
Right, because if you do that, your application is much more likely to be granted, sir.
So what am I
I'm
looking
trying to
for?
help you here.
You should take an adjournment and contact planning, sit with them, and as quick as you can get in there to sit with them, we can get you to the next, we can get you on the schedule as quick as possible. But you have to.
Okay, but what am I requesting? I mean, let's say there is no 39.8%.
Well, it looks like you're going to get 31%, and we have to try to figure out what the precedent is for height.
You actually may get,
the height is.
yeah, you may get more than 31% when you point out to Ms. Ryan, the adjoining neighbors, and how developed those parcels are. She may be willing to reconsider even that 31. I can't speak for her, but I think, again, the more evidence we have, the more informed the decision we can make. And it seems to me, by looking at these aerials, that the facts are in your favor if you can present them to us. But right now, you have no record that would form the basis for us to go beyond that 31% or to that height.
Well, the height
you really need to do a little more homework if you want to have a chance, or we can give you a decision tonight. I don't know how happy you're going to be with it, but you
Yeah, and
you want to try to do this.
no, of course. And who do I meet with from planning?
Deirdre Ryan.
Deirdre.
Right. 631-224-5450.
224. What was the last four?
5450.
Say again.
224-5450.
Okay, Deidre Ryan, you said yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and as far as the height, you guys are just not looking to have a site developed as the garage underneath, because I believe we are meeting the roof.
No, we're not saying that. We're saying that we don't know what the area holds as far as precedent for height.
For
And
first
neither
floor
do you.
elevation, it's first floor elevation, not height of the dwelling,
Yeah.
sir.
Oh, so we are meeting the height of the structure, the height
I
of
don't
the.
know. It's not in the call for us. We don't know that. That's why I'm saying the height's not in the call. The first floor elevation's in the call. That's what you have to go and contact planning with. Sit with them. It'll be your benefit, to your benefit.
Yeah, but what the applicant is asking the board, and I think you can give them a little bit of a read on this, is how amenable you have been to somebody's request for additional height underneath their dwelling in order to park cars.
It hasn't been 14.2 feet, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Not
And
very.
we don't know.
In 2 words, not very.
There you go. You got some opinion from the board.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we, well, I guess if anybody else wants to be heard on this.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make the motion that we grant the applicant's request for an adjournment.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Well done, Mr. Wex.
really fast. And when do we come back to a meeting, or that's scheduled for the planning department?
As soon as you're ready with planning.
So go to planning, figure out what you got to figure out, then call Mary and let her know.
All right. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good day.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. In the meantime, the person who had the horrible reception on his cell phone is asking me to call him now and
No.
put him on speaker.
No, that's Mary, that's not the way it works. Come on, we got to move through this calendar.
So I'm going to tell him, answering live. I haven't done this before, but Nicholas, if you can hear me, I am not going to call you and put you on speakerphone. Thank you.
Gosh.
Great.
Okay.
Application number 512-20, adjourned from September 1st, 2020, William H. and Eugenia Conroy. Permission to erect detached garage, 24 by 24, leaving height of 18 feet instead of permitted 14 feet. Excuse me, and to leave 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback of 10 feet. Residence A District, southeast corner of Ryan Street and Tanglewood Road, West Islip. Anyone here in this application?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and good. We had the original date was September 1st, which is correct. And we were discussing, actually, Mr. Chairman, you brought up the fact that, which is important, had we attached this garage, we were thinking about it. Excuse me?
Just need name and address for the record, please.
Yep,
Your name and address.
name and address.
Frank Beta, agent for owner, 20 Seaford Avenue, Mastic, New York.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, and anyway, it was discussed about the possibility of attaching it, which would have been a good possibility, but there's 3-bedroom windows on that side of the house. There's only 3 windows. We definitely would lose 2. One is Mr. Conroy's upstairs. Downstairs is the son's. They do like fresh air and light. That's why the idea was to push.
Mr. Beta, but I remember this application and we could not grant 18 feet. The only way we could consider it if it was attached. We were so clear
You're
about that.
glitching and we can't hear you.
Pardon?
Excuse me?
Where? Can you hear us?
Here, let me
Hello?
say it again. Let me just say it again. This application,
Yeah,
I remember
perfect.
you were looking into attaching
Absolutely.
it because we were very clear that we could not grant 18 feet on the detached garage. We cannot do it. Cannot.
He's frozen on my screen. I think they're having a connectivity issue. Can we second call this and maybe let him reconnect?
Yeah, we're gonna have to second call. If you can hear us, sir, just try and reconnect and we'll second call you. Your connection is bad.
Oh,
Hello?
wait, I just got the,
Wait, you're back now. Unmute yourself.
No audio. You got to unmute yourself, sir.
I'll try one more
There
time.
you go. Unmute yourself. One more, unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself. All
There
right,
you go.
Mr. Beta, let me just try one more time. The last time this matter on, we were crystal clear that we
Yes.
could not grant 18 feet on the detached garage in height. We could not and would not. That's why you were looking toward attaching it and you would alleviate certain problems. You're
No.
telling us that you're telling us that you can't attach it for windows. We get it. We can't grant 18 feet.
You asked for
I ne-
pictures within
yeah,
500 feet of
I
the
never,
property.
I never said I was even thinking about going attached, and the homeowner was never thinking about.
But
going
we can't
attached.
grant 18 feet.
What can you grant? Would you work with
14
it?
14.
feet.
We can't meet somewhere in the middle?
The
14
code,
feet is right in the middle.
the code,
I
sir,
said-
we don't write the code, so we just have to.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that, but I did send photos because the picture's worth 1,000 words. Mr. Conroy walks his dogs, and when he goes up on Tanglewood, one of them were within 500-foot radius and 500-foot distance, that's not really much at all. Consider.
Sir, But so
the
do
neighborhood-
you have approvals from this board that you can say that that detached structure was granted by this board for this height? If you have that, you give us, you have a great argument then, but without having that, we deny detached structures this high all the time. I
I
understand you.
understand that, but that's one of the reasons why you go for a variance, because it's special permission.
But you need
That's what
some,
we're trying to do here.
to
We're
give
not
us an argument though. So need to give us some information for your argument. There is no information you're giving us other than your client wants it, which I respect.
No.
We can't do anything with that.
Information is, I sent photos over there, and if you look at the two Campbell.
Photos doesn't mean it's a legal structure, sir. You understand? It doesn't.
I'm not saying whether it's legal or not legal. What I'm trying to say is there's kind of a conformity here. And that's what we're looking for. It's like a 14-foot garage is basically what you can get anywhere. We're asking for special permission. We went through all of this. I took photos. I was out in the rain the other day and I brought 3 more garages in that. The neighbor next to him has a garage that's 15 foot
Sir, if it's illegal, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count if
It
it's
doesn't
not
matter
legal
because it's there.
All right, I think we
All right,
understand your
that's your argument.
application.
I got it.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Well, you sent in pictures, so possibly we'll reserve, look at the pictures, and we'll have.
Also, Mr. Chairman, please, you told me that you knew that neighborhood.
I
And
do
it's
know,
very-
neighborhood, yeah.
It's
I know
very
it.
well developed. If the board was to grant 16 foot over there, there's not going to be a bunch of people sparking up. Every house has a garage. If you look at an aerial, every other house has a detached garage. They're built up.
I
Nobody
appreciate
comes to the board and
your
asks
concern, sir, but we have a job to do also, and that is.
I
uphold
understand
code.
that.
So
I
unless you can
understand
give
that.
us some argument.
I'm sorry,
that-
sir. Please stop speaking over the chairman. It's just one at a time for the record, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
If you can give us some sort of information that sustains your argument, then we have something to discuss. But we as a board just cannot, we deny these all the time. So we will look at your pictures, we'll reserve decision, and we'll get you a decision within 62 days.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have to discuss the fence too.
Yeah, we'll discuss the fence also. Sure.
Yes, the fence on Tanglewood, where it's 6 foot high, actually starts at the end of the house. It's only like 6 sections there. On Bryan Street, if the other end of the street, it goes from corner to corner, 6 foot high, and they're front yard homes.
Well, so can you give me a second to answer you? So the code was changed, and the code states if you have a dwelling 11,250 or smaller, you can have the fence on the property line. We as a board see up to 12,000 square feet. So according to your survey, you're right under the 12,000. So I think that fence will be okay. The garage, that's something else we're going to have to discuss. And if you would like us to reserve, we can, and discuss it.
And we'll take a look at your photos.
We'll take a look at your photos.
Yes, thank you very much. That's all I could ask for.
All right. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Can I
Excuse me.
just ask a question? I'm sorry.
We just need your name for the record.
Christina Beta.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm learning the process. That's why I'm sitting here. And I hear what you're saying. What other information do you need? Last time I sat with him and you said, take pictures within the 500-foot radius, which he did, and he submitted. What other details do you need in order for him? As he said, I was thinking, oh, this is a variance. You're fighting your case, you're pleading your case to get special permission, which you're not granting. So then being new
But we
to
never said we're not granting it, Ms. Pater. We never said that. We
Well-
said reserve it and discuss it. So if you listened last time and just a few moments ago, if you had some information within the 500 square foot that there were legalized dwellings at that height, you can come back to us and say, hi, number whatever Ryan Street within the 500 square feet was granted by this board for 18-foot or CO by this board, and build your argument. But just to go and take a picture and come back and say the neighborhood has dwellings this high, detached structures this high, is not something that we can hang our head on as a zoning board. We're here to uphold the code. Yes, we're here to bend the code we have 5 factors we have to follow in order to bend the code a little bit. So I understand that, and I appreciate your frustration, but we can't go off of a picture.
It's not, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is that information available online in public access, or is that something you have to go into the town to obtain?
You can foil structures, you can go into the town and speak to people, you can get your information done. But I can ask Mary from planning, from the zoning board, she has Deirdre Ryan's input from planning. I'm assuming, if I remember correctly from last time, there was no precedent for 18-foot high structures, detached structures.
No, there was no precedent. And also last time, I believe the board asked the applicants to meet with planning prior to coming back. So I was kind of hopeful that we would end up with a revised call to advertise tonight. And I think that's why I asked you to wait all the way until mid-October. I suggested that there were other alternatives here that you might want to consider, which would involve revising the call of the meeting. I don't think the board only told you to go get pictures and come back. I think the problem was we weren't able to allow you to share what you had because you didn't know that you had to have them open on your desktop prior to the hearing.
Right, which we have now.
Right. But the whole other thing that happened in that hearing was the board suggesting that there were alternatives, and perhaps rather than try to learn them on the fly, you might want to sit down and meet with the planning department and come back, which you may have seen a couple applications before you had been done very successfully between September 22nd and now.
The question I have is now, could I go to planning? How soon do you guys make your decision?
We have 62 days by law when we reserve a decision to make a decision on it.
So if I was to act within the next week or so, or
You'd have to take an adjournment then again, sir, to go there. A reservation and adjournment are different. Are you looking for an adjournment?
No, I'm not looking for an adjournment. I would like you guys to make a decision and take everything that we have into consideration.
Okay.
Good.
That's
If
good.
I could add anything to it prior to your meeting, that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah,
sure.
Would you like a week to submit more information? Is that what you're looking for?
Absolutely, yes. This way I could submit something before you make your decision, sir.
Okay, so if you'd like, we'll give you a week to submit some on our reserve, any more
I
information.
could go into the town and the planning department?
You can contact them and see their process and ask them to give you a hand with that stuff. Now, your reserve date will start after your 7-day submission. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Beatty, you have 7 days to give some information to the board, and then your 62 days starts after that 7th day.
Thank you.
All right, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Application 495-20, James J. Verdone, permission to leave 6-foot fence having front yard of 4 feet instead of required 10 feet, shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of dwelling, Residence A District, northeast corner of Lowell Road, McNeil Street, Sayville, New York.
Okay, this person is also not here, not in the attendee panel, also was a no-show last time, also called and I think said that they were sick the night of the hearing. So we picked a new date with them.
Okay, second call.
We also have a hand raised from the Todd O'Connell Architect Office representative. who I believe would like me to try to move him back into the panel now. That would be the second call on Montalbano,
Montalbano?
590-20.
All right, second call, 590-20. Good evening, sir. Can you hear us?
He said he had gone outside. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
We got it. Good evening. Good night. Nicholas Capucci, Title Connell Architects, 1200 Veterans Highway, Suite 120, Hauppauge, New York. Representing Mr. Richard Montalbano, 1154 Namdak Avenue. I'm here today because we're trying to obtain the CO. We started a project probably about 2 years ago, where we were doing an addition and we had to rebuild the house. And what we're going for here is during construction, we had to remove the attached garage foundation and rebuild it exactly the way it was. The original application was for a addition on the existing foundation and the existing footprint. So we never had to go for this 8-foot setback, side yard setback, because that was existing to the original attached garage. But since we had to remove that and rebuild it because it was crumbling and not safe, we had to go for this 8-foot now setback, I believe.
Sir, the CFC states there's an accessory structure detached garage. You're saying it was attached?
By permission from the board, if I can just explain that a little bit, 159-17, the board gave permission for them to attach a detached garage to the dwelling, leaving a side yard of 8.3 feet instead of required 14 feet.
Okay.
The motion was made by Mr. Lorenzo, board member at the time, on 2 conditions: that the cellar entrance may be covered but not enclosed, and that the attached garage remain a garage and not to be used as habitable space. It was seconded by Mr. Sullivan and unanimously carried.
Ms. Pissarro, can you tell if this application then is the same, that this is really just an in-kind replacement? Do we have anything?
I think I'm hearing from the design professional that their detached garage, in fact, got reconstructed.
No, I heard that too. All I'm asking is, are the dimensions the same? I don't have a CO in front of me. I don't have a
Well, they
permit.
can't be exactly the same because you granted 8.3 and now we have it at 8.
Okay, so it's just slightly bigger.
Correct.
All right. And it's still, sir, it's still used as garage, not living space?
That's correct.
All right. And the driveway, 2 instead of 4, front yard occupancy, 45.26 instead of 35. Is that part of the, Mary, that was not part of the ZBA hearing?
It was not.
Okay,
No.
so
During construction, he wound up paving the driveway and doing hardscape and landscape. And again, when we came back for the CO, we got hit with to provide this information, and this is where we stand with everything.
Okay.
That,
so we as a board see up to 40% for front yard occupancy. You're at 45.26. Unless you have some precedent that you can hold an argument with us on, we keep it at 40.
Yeah, we were going over with Anthony, and he was
Who's Anthony?
At the planning board, the planning department.
Okay. Okay.
We don't have any Anthony's.
And Anthony?
No Anthony's. Maybe Aldo?
No, not Aldo. I believe it was Anthony.
But do you have precedent? Do you have something in writing, a prior decision? That's what we're referring to. Do you either have it or you don't? A prior decision that grants greater than 40% for the front yard? Yes or no?
No, I don't have that now physically.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
research and do it.
Okay, well, so what we always hold it at 40%. So however you get it down to 40%, that's how you're gonna have to get down there, I believe. Anyway, we're gonna take a vote on it, but that's how we're gonna go with that. We have driveway, side of 2 and 4, that's de minimis. And we have patio on side property line not having setback of 4 feet. I don't see where this patio is that you're talking about.
I believe that's in the back. It's just a patio on grade. It's just pavers on grade and concrete, and it's poured up to the line.
Gotcha. Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Nicole, I'll take a motion.
Pass on this one. I'm struggling to figure out where we are.
All right.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny that portion of the application that seeks front yard occupancy of 45.26%. Instead, grant a front yard occupancy of 40% and grant the balance of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go, sir.
Aye.
You have a great night. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, I got everything. Thank you.
Okay, you have a great night.
Good night.
Good night. All right, so Verdone, a second call, still no Verdone, 495-20.
No, no Verdone.
Okay, we are going into application 592-20. Adley and Philippe, I'm sorry. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, section 68-602 on lot having width of 50 feet instead of required 75 feet and lot area of 7,000 square feet instead of required 7,500 square feet. Residence A District, west side of Pine Acres Boulevard, 250 feet south of Chenango Drive, Bay Shore. Anyone here in this application?
Yes. Let's see if we can help them. Janine? There we
Yes,
go.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hello.
Good.
And we also have a neighbor present,
Name and address for the record, please.
applicant.
My name is Janine Jean-Philippe. My address is 1332 Pine Acres Boulevard, Bay Shore, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you.
You're here seeking permission for an accessory apartment. Your lot width's a little bit too narrow, and the square feet's a little small. We have an apartment that's 750 square feet, ma'am? Driveway complies?
Yes, the driveway complies. It's been improved at the request of engineering, which could have been a bit unfortunate because the board still has the serious issue of the width of lot to consider of 50 feet. But the driveway does comply. It was reconstructed.
Okay, do we have know of any precedent of us approving accessory apartments with a lot width of 50?
I know of one precedent out in Bayport, an extremely small house with an extremely small apartment. We granted it the first time for 1 year and then renewed it for 3 years. Very small apartment, one occupant.
Has Deirdre put in any planning?
Planning doesn't usually comment on apartments, but no.
Even when there's a small width of a property, no?
No, unfortunately, no. They don't comment on apartments, which is unfortunate. As you know, for a long time, the code actually said, right or wrong, that no variances could be sought for width or area involved with accessory apartments. The case in Bayport that I cited, which I think was on Edgewood, the chairman at the time believed that that prohibition on applying for variances was questionably legal. And we took the case. It was represented by an attorney, and we considered that variance and, like I said, did grant it. But
that's far away from.
no, it's quite far. It's almost as far as you can get in the town of Islip.
Yeah. Did you understand, Ms. Philippe, what we're speaking of? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
See, your property's a bit too small for an accessory apartment pursuant to our code that we have on the books.
It's look quite big.
Well, it's not big enough for what they want for an accessory apartment.
The apartment in the other case, I'm sorry to interrupt, was about half the size. It was just over the minimum of 300 square feet. So I think the issue really becomes about parking cars, can they be
All right,
continued
all
on
about
the
it.
property?
No.
I would be curious to hear what the neighbor has to say, Mr. Chairman, if he hasn't already spoken.
Well, wait, sir, we just have to get your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Janine Jean.
No, not you, ma'am, the neighbor.
Okay.
Ronald Van Cott, 1336 Pine Acres Boulevard.
How are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, and you're the neighbor to the north, south, cross street, right?
It would be to the north.
Okay, and what do you have to say tonight?
My problem would be with the parking because for the last several years, with the extra doors that they put in the house, there's been 6 to 8 cars there every night, and invariably, the front of my house becomes their overflow. And no
Okay.
matter how many times I've asked them in the past, can you please park in front of your own house? And if you don't have enough room, maybe you need a bigger driveway. The answer is, well, it's a public street. We'll park wherever we want.
Well, that is in fact
That's
true.
not our house. We have car in our driveway, and our driveway is quite big, and we only have the most 4 car in the driveway. That's all.
Right,
That's all.
and then
We never
the cars that would park in front of my house, the cars that park across the street, there's 6 to 8.
Those are not our cars.
All right,
This is not a fight between you guys. You can't do that here.
Yeah, we don't have crosstalk. You both made your point. If the chairman wants further information, he's not shy. He'll ask.
Okay.
So, sir, you're I'm assuming you're against the application.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Ms. Philippe, I think I don't know if you need some time, possibly. Your property is a bit too small for the relief you're asking for the apartment.
The
Yeah,
property is not small at all.
But the code states that you need 75 feet wide. You're only 50 feet wide, and a lot
And
area.
inside the driveway, it's quite big. We just went over the driveway. It's quite big. We
I
just
understand,
went
but
over
you're asking for a 750 square foot apartment in an undersized lot. We don't normally grant that in the town of Islip. If you'd like some time to meet with planning and going over with it, or meet with someone in the town to get a little more information for your case, we can give that to you.
How big the driveway has to be?
Well, it's not the driveway so much that it's the lot width and your lot area.
The house or the backyard?
The lot, your whole lot.
The
Here's the-
house itself or the backyard?
The whole property, ma'am.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion? Perhaps we reserve decision tonight and we take a look at the legislative intent with respect to the size of the lot. I'm sure there was testimony given at the time that the accessory apartment ordinance was enacted. In fact, I was there. I seem to remember it, in fact. And we can make a decision to see whether or not, regardless of the dimensions, this application complies with the spirit as well as the letter of the law.
I agree with you, Mr. Messina.
Well, thank you.
Does everyone else agree with Mr. Messina?
Yes, I think it's
Yes.
a prescient idea.
You sounded very
Yes,
smart.
I agree.
Very intelligent on that comment. Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? I make a motion to reserve decision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Philippe, we have 62 days by law to render a decision. We're going to review your case and review the intent of the legislation, and you'll have an answer in the mail.
Thank you.
All right. You have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Van Cott, as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care.
Ms. Pissarro, we have something to vote on before we adjourn?
I have somebody who has waited patiently in the attendee panel and is writing us. It's Christine Fay. She's consulted with her clients and they want to switch the yard that they pick. Would you like me to move her back into the panel?
No. Let us submit it in writing. Can just do it in writing. Otherwise, we're never going to get out of here. Come on.
But they just want to shift the side yard instead of the rear yard. So let them.
All right.
I'll make a motion to amend the decision in accordance with the request.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so now you have something for us to vote on, Ms. Pissarro?
Just one case. Just give me 1 second. I want to write notes on that.
Mary, do you have the case number that Ms. Fay was
Yeah, I have it right
there,
here.
or just so I can put it in case?
588-20, Natasha.
Thank you.
John, you know what the problem with that one was? That darn survey was not oriented north for no reason.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I saw that too.
No, I couldn't follow it at first either.
Felt bad about that. We were like a little bit like who's on first, what's on second.
It took me a second. Took me a second.
All right, what are we reading in?
I'm asking the board to read in Linest Associates. It was adjourned with Tropical Storm Isaias from the 4th to the 18th, and it's become a time issue for the applicant. You'll recall that the applicant asked to construct a new building on site, and then after which they asked to dismantle their existing building, which is very roughly 100,000 square feet. They asked the board for temporary variances for FAR, 45% instead of 35%, and for temporary parking relaxation during the time of reconstruction. It didn't go over very well, especially the part with the temporary parking relaxation. So the applicant has asked permission to withdraw that part of the application and to just have the board consider the area variance for the floor area ratio of 45% instead of 35%. So that case is Linest Associates. It's in Ronkonkoma on the east side of 13th Street, south of Peconic Street. It was presented by Guy Germano.
Okay, so do you need a motion or do you have one prepared?
I don't have one prepared. You want to take a shot?
Mr. Chairman, I move first to amend the call of the meeting to eliminate the request for a temporary parking variance.
Second.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, I move now to grant the balance of the application.
Motion. In favor?
Aye.
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 Application granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we go off live on YouTube a second? I just got a question.
Hang on, I'll make a motion. Do you need to come back on, Mr. Chairman, or?
No.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.